So we have had another weekend of Championship action, which we will be discussing in today's video. We've also got a game going on in the Championship tonight as well, which we will be previewing at the end of the video, but we had a lot go down in the Championship this weekend. After this weekend in the Championship, this is how the Championship table is currently lining up, and it is incredibly close at both the top and bottom of the league. So we've got a lot to go over in this weekend. As always, I'd love to get your guys' opinions on what you made of your team's performance in the comments down below. And before we do get into talking about any of the individual matches, I will include your guys' comments on screen now. So if any of you guys did successfully manage to get any of your score predictions correct, then I will include your comment on screen now. And we had quite a few upsets going on this week, a couple of big scorelines as well, so we have some good games to go over. So without further ado, let's hop into talking about some of them. And so we'll start it out by going over Friday's game, where Norwich got back to winning ways with a convincing 3-1 home victory over Birmingham. The first half of this game was an absolutely brilliant watch. From Norwich City, the home side, they were relentless in that first half. The intensity was back in that side, and after a couple of dodgy results lately in the Championship, getting back to winning ways was always going to be important in this game, and some of their players really stood out to me. Buendia was absolutely terrific before he had to be taken off. The first half he had a hand in setting up all the goals. Timu Pukki managed to put the home side in front after a Jamal Lewis cross, but Birmingham did manage to respond in fairness to them. A very nice finish. Jota with sort of an inverted pass into Che Adams, and he then smashed the ball into the near post, where Tim Krul probably could have done a little bit better with it, but Birmingham responded well. After that though, Norwich were relentless going forward. Vrancic managed to get Norwich back in front after the 22nd minute with a nice long-ranging effort, and then Tom Tribal got Norwich's third after Buendia cross had come into the box. After that first half from Norwich, the second half didn't really have the same intensity to it, but I thought it was good game management from Norwich really. If they continued at the same intensity going into the second half, sure, they may have got a few more goals, but they could have put the result at risk a little bit. They wanted to make sure that they were in control of that second half, and that result for Norwich has now taken them back up to second in the Championship, where it is incredibly tight around the top two at the moment. So the top two is very much still up for grabs, and Norwich only 1 point away from Leeds. And then we had Aston Villa going up against Hull City, with this one finishing as a 2-2 draw. Going into this one, I think a lot of people were expecting it to be quite an open game of football, with both sides scoring goals with how attack heavy they've both been so far, but Hull were really blowing Villa out the water in the first half. Once again, that first half from Villa was very average, more of the same that we're seeing from them with their performance against Wigan Athletic. Jared Bowen took the lead for Hull after the 27th minute, the ball falling to him on his left foot. He rifled it in just outside the box, and Evandro managed to make it 2-0 after Grosicki had set him up for an acrobatical volley inside the box. Villa did get a goal back just before half-time. James Chester headed in that one in, and that maybe helped with their motivation going into that second half, that they could get something from that game. And then eventually it was Tammy Abraham who was on the score sheet once again for Villa to score the equaliser. Things haven't quite been clicking for Villa lately. I've seen quite a lot of Villa fans, some differing opinions on what they've made of Dean Smith in the job so far for them. I don't think that he should be becoming under pressure like maybe some Villa fans are suggesting, but I think, you know, he does need time to figure out what he needs to do with this squad. I still think he's the right man for Villa long term. It's just it wasn't going to be an instant fix. And then we had Blackburn going up against Ipswich, with the home side walking away with all 3 points. The intensity levels from both sides weren't quite at it in the first half. Both sides had a couple of chances, but the balls weren't really falling to the strikers in the right areas. Ipswich had a decent chance to take the lead when Will Keane was sent through on goal. He tried to take the ball around David Raya, but in the end the goalkeeper managed to recover and save the shot. Going into the second half, once again it was Adam Armstrong for Blackburn Rovers who made the difference in this game. The same can be said for him coming off the bench in their last game against Millwall in the Championship. They managed to win that game by 2-0 with 2 late goals, Adam Armstrong being involved in both of them, and the same can be said for this game here today. He managed to win the penalty, which put Blackburn 1 goal ahead. It did look to be a little bit soft, but I think there was definitely contact there, and when the players like Armstrong is running at full speed, it's just the slightest of touches and he's going to go down. And then he managed to set up the second goal for Blackburn as well, sending the ball across goal for an easy tap in at the far post. And Blackburn did have some other chances in this game as well. Bradley Dack had an effort that just curled wide, but this result for Blackburn now takes them back up to 10th in the Championship. So with how tight it is in the middle of the Championship at the moment, 3 points for any of those sides can really go ahead and catapult you up the league, whereas Ipswich still sat at bottom of the Championship. It was a good chance for them to get something in this game after Blackburn had been playing in midweek in the FA Cup, but it wasn't to be in Ipswich for this game. Their home games are going to be crucial from now till the end of the season. And then we had Derby beating Reading by 2-1. Once again, Derby, another side who were involved in midweek action in the FA Cup, so I wasn't sure what their fitness levels would be like going into this one, but realistically it could have been more comfortable than the 2-1 suggests in this one actually. Derby created quite a few chances chances in this game here today. And one player who I was quite impressed by once again from Derby was Martin Waghorn. He's been a player for Derby who signed for quite a bit of money coming in from Ipswich in the summer, hasn't really been utilised that much by them so far. For the most part, he's been an impact sub coming off the bench, but his last few games for Derby, I've been really impressed by him. I thought he was linking up well with Marriott in this one, and he quite easily could have had a goal for himself in this one. It was some nice play from Harry Wilson to set up the opener, putting a nice through ball into Holmes. He managed to slot it in past the goalkeepers, make it 1-0 to Derby. Harry Wilson then managed to double Derby's lead, making it 2-0. The goal did have a little bit of fortune in it. It managed to wrong foot the goalkeeper after it did take quite a big deflection, but that saw Derby go into half-time with a 2-goal lead. Going into the second half, they continued to create chances. Mason Mount had a good chance. Martin Waghorn had a chance to get Derby's third, but he was ruled to be offside in the end. Reading did pull a goal back from Aluko, a nice finish from him, slotting it into the bottom corner, which did set up a bit of an nervy end, because before that point, like I said, Derby really could have wrapped this up, scoring 3 or 4 goals. But Reading couldn't find that equaliser in the end, and that does still mean that Derby are sat in the top 6. And one of the big news stories about Derby going around at the moment is that Ashley Cole is apparently on his way to Pride Park. So what I want to know from you guys, and Derby fans especially, is what do you make of the signing of Ashley Cole? In terms of Reading, they're still sat in the bottom 3, but with Rotherham also losing this weekend, that does still mean that they are only 2 points away from safety. Then we have Middlesbrough drawing 1-1 with Millwall. Millwall have been on a decent run in the Championship lately, but you've got to feel like it's another opportunity missed for Middlesbrough to be picking up all 3 points at home. For the first half of this game, I thought that Millwall were by far the better side in this one. Their intensity off the ball was very good, and that could be seen by the opening goal they scored. Clayton was caught in possession in midfield by Lee Gregory, who had battled to win the ball off him in midfield. He carried the ball from the halfway line and then slipped in Jed Waller, who coolly slotted it past it on, rushing down Randolph to give the away side a 1-goal lead. In that first half, Millwall were looking very good. They had other opportunities to make it more than 1-0. Dan Randolph popped up with a massive save just before they had taken the lead. And things just weren't really clicking with this Middlesbrough side. They were lacking any real width going forward, no real creativity in that side once again, and how just cautiously and defensively Pulis sets up his teams at home. Something just needs to change with these sort of performances. But then the home side did get a bit of a get out of jail free card in the last minute, as they did get a penalty which Jordan Hugo slotted away. In terms of the penalty, I've seen a few replays of it. I think it was a penalty. It was Morrison pushing Ayala in the back. I think that Ayala had sort of realised he wasn't going to get the ball, so maybe he was looking for it a little bit, but when you do see the replay from behind the goal, you can clearly see that Morrison pushes Ayala to the ground, and so I don't think many people can have too many arguments with that. So Hugo managed to slot that penalty away, and it did finish as a 1-1 draw. So Borough fans, I'd be interested to get your view on this, as I just feel like there's more from this squad. And then we have Nottingham Forest going up against Bristol City, the away side continuing their impressive run of form in the Championship lately. They're still just outside the playoffs, but it's another game where Nottingham Forest have failed to score at home, and it's another 1-0 home defeat. We saw the same against QPR and Preston North End, and this Forest side has struggled to break teams down lately, it has to be said. Martin O'Neill did change the formation for this game and the system that they were using. They decided to go for a 4-4-2 formation, which we've not really seen from Nottingham Forest so far this season. Lewis Grobin and Daryl Murphy were up front, with Matty Cash and Joe Lilly out wide. The only problem with this formation, they were playing with 2 quite defensive holding midfielders in Jack Holback and Jakub as well. That sort of stifled a lot of their movements going forward, and so to break down Bristol City, they actually found it quite tough, especially, a Bristol City side who's been so consistent defensively this season. Callas once again for Bristol City, I thought was massive for them. Marlon Pack in midfield was sweeping up everything for them. But in the end, one of the big introductions to this game was Casey Palmer coming on. He had a massive impact on Bristol City winning this game in the end. Some nice link-up play, Brownhill playing the ball into Palmer. Palmer with an absolutely defence-splitting pass into Vyman. Vyman then plays it across the box, and then Jeju has a tap in to make it 1-0 to Bristol City. And that was all they needed to pick up all 3 points in the end. So Nottingham Forest continuing to slip down the Championship, whereas Bristol City, you have to say, are looking terrific at the moment. And then we have Preston beating QPR by 4-1 in what was a very convincing performance from the away side. And I've been waiting for a performance like this from Preston for so long now, but finally we are looking like we're getting back to what we were like last season, with players returning into the squad now, our new signings fitting into this system as well. Things are looking a lot more positive around Preston at the moment, which I'm very happy to say. QPR on the other hand, for this game, they were absolutely dreadful. One of the worst performances I've seen from QPR all season, up there with how bad they were against West Brom earlier on this season. From everything we've come to expect from QPR so far this season, under Steve McLaren, being a real underdog so far, they got great intensity off the ball, closed people down well, they got some brilliant freedom in the attacking third. None of that was on show in this game today. I thought their desire wasn't really there, and the game just escaped from QPR in the early exchanges really. Preston took the lead after 14 minutes, some really sloppy play from QPR, trying to play the ball out from the back. Alan Brown managed to win it back, and then Jaden Stockley, with his second game for Preston, kills it into the far post with a delightful finish to make it 1-0 to Preston going into half-time. In the second half then, Preston continued to run away with the game. Jordan Storey scoring his first goal for the club with sort of a slice volley which ended up going into the top corner. Preston then managed managed to make it 3-0 through Alan Brown. Some really poor defending from QPR, leaving Alan Brown unmarked at the far post. If there's one player you don't want to leave unmarked, it's Alan Brown. He's an absolute fox in the box. He managed to make it 3-0, and I don't really think that Alan Brown gets the recognition he deserves in the Championship. I honestly think he's one of the best goal-scoring midfielders around at the moment. Smith did manage to pull one back for QPR, making it 3-1, but not too long after that, Preston get their fourth through Brad Potts scoring his first goal for the club. But one player I have to give a mention to in this game was Ben Pearson. He was absolutely colossal in this game for Preston North End, winning absolutely everything, battling for every single second ball in this game, and it's no surprise to see when Ben Pearson is out of this Preston North End squad, we fall apart without him. And this performance is a clear testament to see why. He's brilliant off the ball, he sets our intensity going forward, but I don't think that Ben Pearson, I think a lot of people in the Championship see Ben Pearson as the sort of, you know, natural hard man, going for a lot of tackles, gets a lot of bookings, everything like that, and all that is true. But what we really saw in this game was a demonstration of how good Ben Pearson is at pulling the strings for Preston, how technically he's also an excellent footballer. He was dictating the game from deep for Preston in this game, and overall it was a brilliant performance from us. I'm hoping we can continue this momentum now for the rest of the season. And another team in the Championship who has been looking back to their best lately has been Brentford, who were able to beat Rotherham by 4-2 in a very entertaining game at the New York City Stadium. For this game it was Brentford who took the lead after just 2 minutes, but Rotherham did manage to get back into the game. A fantastic strike from Taylor from the edge of the box managed to make it 1-1, and Rotherham had a great chance to go into half-time leading this game, but Semi Ajayi missed an absolute sitter of a chance. For about 6 yards out, he somehow managed to slice his shot, and that one ended up going wide. In the second half though, Brentford continued to carve open this Rotherham side, and they were absolutely brilliant. Their free-flowing football was back in full swing in this one. It was a very slick performance from the away side, who you can see by the chances created in this one. Brentford have been looking back to their best lately. Defensively, I don't think that Brentford will be brilliant for the remainder of this season. You know, that can be sort of seen by the second goal they conceded in this game. The Rotherham defence was just backing off this Brentford side. They didn't really want to engage them high up the pitch, as they would have just got in behind quite easily, but they were absolutely playing them off the park in this game. Some of the link-up play and interchanging passes were fantastic to watch, and they were more than worthy of all 3 points in this one. A fantastic away performance. Rotherham, on the other hand, still looming just over the relegation zone, just 2 points away from Reading at the moment. And then we had Sheff Wednesday beating Wigan Athletic by 1-0. This result sort of summarises the Championship, because the week before we had Sheff Wednesday losing 3-0 in one of their worst performances of the season, and we saw Wigan winning 3-0 in one of their best performances of the season against Aston Villa. That was completely flipped on its head in this game, but it was probably to be expected looking at Wigan's away record so far this season. Even so, it was Sheff Wednesday who started this game the brighter of the two sides. They were creating some decent chances, but couldn't find a way past Jamie Jones in that first half. Wigan themselves, they grew into the game. They had some alright chances to take the lead in this game. Joe Garner especially had one chance that fell to him inside the 6-yard box, which just went wide. In the second half, the game was continuing to open up. Sheff Wednesday with the side creating more of the chances, and eventually it was Stephen Fletcher who popped up with the only goal of the game. A fantastic effort from him. He took the ball from the halfway line, drove at this Wigan Athletic defence, who were just backing off and backing off. No one was going to intervene, looking to put a bit of pressure on him, and he just effortlessly manages to bend the ball into the far post past Jamie Jones to give Sheff Wednesday all 3 points in this game. A fantastic solo individual goal from Stephen Fletcher there, and this was the sort of result that Sheff Wednesday were in need of after some of their recent games in the Championship. Really, just a result to give everyone a bit of a lift around the club, and with some of the other chances they created in this game, it could have quite easily been more than 1-0 actually. And then we had Stoke beating Leeds by 2-1. A very big game in the Championship this weekend. Leeds are still sat top of the Championship, but with Norwich winning this weekend, that gap has now been closed just to 1 point, so things really are heating up. Stoke I thought were excellent in this game though. Nathan Jones set his team up well, and after his first 2 games not exactly going to plan, he changed the system for this game to go ahead and try and nullify Leeds. I thought it worked excellently. The opening goal for Stoke came in the second half through Sam Clucas. A bit of poor defending from Leeds, it has to be said. Cooper with the original header away. Click then just sort of seems to spoon his header straight into the path of Clucas, who was able to force the ball past Bailey Peacock-Farrell to make it 1-0 to Stoke City. But then after that was when the main controversial decision of this game was made, with Pontus Jansson being sent off for his second yellow card after he was adjudged to have handballed it, I believe, after Binikafobi was racing through on goal. It looked to be a little bit soft to me, and I know a lot of Leeds fans aren't happy with that decision, and rightly so really. And then after that red card, Stoke saw their chance to kill this game off, and they did that with a goal coming from Joe Allen in the 88th minute. Leeds did pull a goal back in stoppage time. Alioski in the 95th minute with a nice driving low finish. As to be expected from Leeds, they had the majority of the ball in this one. You know, they had 71% possession. They had 17 shots as well, but only 4 of them were on target. A lot of them were long-ranging efforts. They couldn't really get in behind Stoke in this game. I think they found themselves to be quite frustrated for the majority of it. Stoke I thought played brilliantly for this one. They handled the game well. Their game management was very good. But Leeds United, not on the great run in the Championship at the moment. I still think they will turn this around. I think every side it at some point in the season does hit a bit of a blip, but Leeds need to turn this around sooner rather than later, that's for sure. And then our last game to go over saw Swansea beating Sheffield United by 1-0. The first half of this game, I thought that Sheffield United, the only thing they were lacking was a goal, really. They were controlling the flow of the game. Some of their movements were very intelligent. I thought they were looking good. They were having Swansea at bay. Swansea never really got into the game in the first half. And I thought if the game was to carry on like this going into the second half, eventually Sheffield United would be able to break down this Swansea side and they would be leaving with all 3 points. But that was sort of flipped on its head in the second half. Sheffield United's performance levels dipped quite dramatically actually going into that second half, and Swansea really started to excel. Leroy Firth was brilliant in that second half for Swansea. Dyer was causing all sorts of problems out on that right wing for Swansea, and Ollie McBurney also having some very intelligent movements. He in the end managed to score the winner after Dyer had set that up, flashing the ball across the box. And Sheffield United were made to pay for some of their missed opportunities in that first half. Swansea also had some other chances to put this game to bed earlier than I expected. Dean Henderson popped up with one fantastic double save in that second half to keep United in the game, but in the end they couldn't get back into it and Swansea picked up all 3 points. So quite a disappointing result really, considering that Sheffield United do have aspirations of maybe going for the top 2 this season. Some of their fixtures coming up now though are absolutely huge. Next up in the Championship they've got Norwich away from home, and then not too long after that they've got a home game against Middlesbrough and a away game against West Brom. So some of Sheffield United's games in the next few weeks are really season defining now for them. So it's an interesting few weeks ahead for Sheffield United, whereas Swansea, I thought they were looking very good in that second half. So there were all the games that did take place this weekend. Of course we do have a game going on tonight in the Championship as well, so let me know down below what you think is going to happen for this one. It is Bolton going up against West Brom. You've seen it in my prediction video. My prediction going into this one is going to be a 3-1 away victory for West Brom. I think they're going to be quite pumped up for this one, especially as Sheffield United were dropping points this weekend. This gives West Brom a big opportunity to close the gap on the top of the Championship. But like I said guys, they were all the games that did take place over this weekend. In terms of my result of the weekend, quite a few contenders for this one. Stoke beating Leeds is definitely up there. Swansea beating Sheffield United as well. Probably not a lot of people saw that coming, but myself personally, coming from a Preston fan, I'm going to have to give it to Preston for their 4-1 away victory over QPR. It was such a complete performance from Preston. We were looking so much more convincing, and with more performances like that from now until the end of the season, I think we'll do alright. And then as for my goal of the weekend, quite a few contenders for this one as well. I'm going to give it to Stephen Fletcher, I think, for his solo effort against Wigan Athletic. But guys, there you have it. That will now wrap it up for this episode of the Championship Roundup. So if you did go in to enjoy, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you do subscribe for some regular Championship content. But apart from that guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.